Hey everyone, it's Adrian with you from Genie Magazine again, and I'm here with Amy Simmons. Amy, hello.
Hi.
Now, Amy works in this very, very fancy office. We're in the middle of Sydney. It's pouring outside, unfortunately, in the middle of the rocks. I can't turn the camera around, but I didn't know places like this actually exist. There are no walls. Did you want to tell them a little bit about the office space you have here? Can you describe it?
It's pretty amazing. We're overlooking the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. So two of our meeting rooms are called the Bridge Room and the Opera Room for that exact reason. All of our meeting rooms are completely transparent. So we're currently sitting in a meeting room made up of glass walls.
It's kind of like a goldfish bowl, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've got fun things like a little putt-putt golf set and a pool table. And
I can see the putt-putt golf.
We've also got hoverboards and all sorts of fun things.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, we're at Ansarada in Sydney. We should probably talk a little bit about what Ansarada does. I did have a look at the website, and to be honest, I can't quite figure it out. So did you want to tell everyone what Ansarada does, and then we'll get on to you?
Look, I've been here for 1 year and it still hasn't fully sunk in. It's very niche. So to put it simply, what we do is we're a virtual data room for mergers and acquisition. So in the M&A industry.
Okay.
So if you think about a super secure Dropbox for when companies are buying and selling,
so
and
there's a lot of money at stake if that information went.
That's right. So they need a super secure online space to house all of their documents.
Okay, all right. And what does sort of your daily job here entail?
Well, I'm a developer. I'm currently on the back-end team, which means we work quite closely with the database and we get to write some really interesting code, which is fun. And so a day-to-day basis, we'll have like a stand-up meeting, which is where the team all gets together and we stand up and we do our morning meeting, and that'll last for about 5 minutes. And the whole idea of standing up is that you go through as quickly as you can. Because
you don't like standing up.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, so we have a morning stand-up, lots of coffee, lots of code. We collaborate together, like we do a lot of pair programming, which is a concept where you pretty much, you're working with a fellow coder in order to like leapfrog over problems more quickly.
So there's a lot of team emphasis then.
Huge emphasis on teams, My team is called Team Swift. And that's for two reasons. It's because we need to operate swiftly, but it's also because we're all Taylor Swift fans in my team.
Guess it was about Taylor Swift. Okay. Now, the reason I wanted to interview Amy in the first place is, there's what she does, but also she started somewhere else in another industry and then chose this one because she had a passion for it and she fell in love with coding. Can we start with where were you originally? Like, what industry were you in before?
Yeah, so I've been a coder now full-time for just over 12 months. But prior to that, I was a journalist with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. And I actually started my career in Brisbane, so I'm a Queensland girl. And when I moved to Sydney a few years ago, I started working in the ABC's fact-checking unit. So we would sort of take claims made by politicians and go through a lot of in-depth, rigorous research. We'd work with a lot of really interesting data. And I wanted to use that data to tell a story in the most interesting way possible. But in order to do that, you need to know a little bit of code. So I was sort of limited in what I could do and how I could present data and make really engaging, interactive stories.
Because data normally is quite dry. It's just a bunch of statistics.
No one wants to look at a table in a news story. They want to be able to interpret it and engage with it and visualize it in really fresh and interesting ways. So that's when I first started looking into coding. So someone suggested I go along to a weekend workshop called Rails Girls, which is a great place to sort of write your very first line of code and start understanding what it's all about. And so that was back at the end of 2013, and that's what sparked my journey. So basically on that weekend, we built a really small blog with the programming language Ruby and the framework Rails. And from that moment I was hooked. So it was the ability to change the colors of a heading on the page, to create a blog and be able to create a new post or create a new idea, add an image, edit it, see this application coming to life in front of you because of the code that you were writing.
Right. So you were creating something and getting to change something through the code you were creating, and that's what got you hooked.
That's right. So, the ability to, what your end goal is. So you have an idea, that you want to create a blog.
Yeah.
And then being able to get to that point and see it on the page and interact with it because you've written the code to do that.
Sure.
It's really empowering.
So if you were, you had some experience in the industry now. If there's a young person watching this and they're thinking, okay, maybe coding is for me or maybe not, could you tell them maybe like what sort of personal qualities, you work with all these people here, what sort of personal qualities do people have who are attracted to coding? Is it the problem solving? Is it the creative side? Because I can understand the creative side, but I'm slightly surprised by it. Because I think most people, when they think of coding, they think of it as being very dry.
Yeah.
Or it's hackers, and it's all underground. But what sort of person would be attracted to coding?
Well, that's the thing. So I think typically people went into coding via the traditional computer science path at university.
That's what I did.
Yeah, but nowadays people are coming into coding via lots of different avenues. So I got into coding through Rails Girls and also General Assembly. And as you know, I have my journalism background. And what is actually being valued in workplaces is teams of developers or engineers with diverse sets of backgrounds. So
that makes sense.
They're not, there's no longer an emphasis to hire developers with that 4-year, computer science degree.
So they're not just looking at your academic qualification anymore, they're looking maybe at your life experience as well.
Yeah, your life experience, what you're building in your spare time, what you're passionate about, what you're getting into in your spare time. And so, coming back to your question in terms of what sorts of skill sets are required, I think what it comes down to is just being passionate about it, particularly as a junior. So when people are looking to hire junior developers, what they're really looking for is passion and enthusiasm and excitement. Because a lot of people have said to me, like, anyone can learn like the core programming concepts, but it's that passion and the drive and the motivation to do it.
Has passion been something that's always been super important to you? Because I know some people, they would just go, okay, I need a job, I'll pick the one that pays the best. And I have teenage students who will go, okay, law will pay the best, I'm going to become a lawyer. It's like, do you even like law? No, not really.
No.
Has passion always been a huge thing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and to be honest, it wasn't until I started learning to code when I realized that, I'd been in journalism for 6 years and the passion can die off a little after that amount of time.
About that and it kind of waned.
Yeah. And so then when I started learning to code, it reignited all of that inside of me. And, I did a 3-month course with General Assembly, which was the crux of my transition from journalism to being a developer. And during that time, we were running on no sleep, like up all night, every night, coding, doing homework. It was super intensive. But I was the happiest I've ever been in my whole entire life. Like,
I've seen you, I think you posted something up and you said like last year or this year, I can't remember, last year was the best year of your life. 2015,
the best year of my entire life.
And that was based purely just on, but the passion for what you were doing.
Yeah, so like learning to code is one of the most empowering things. It's so much fun because you can have an idea and then all of a sudden you've got the skills to be able to make it happen, like see it come to life. And So that's just incredible. But also just the fact that you're learning all these new things. Like once you start learning to code, you realize that there's so much more to learn. You never stop learning. It's not like you learn for 1 year and then you're done, you're good for the rest of your life.
Well, like, because tech is evolving so quickly just to keep up with it.
Exactly. It's such an evolving industry. So, you know, it constantly keeps you on your toes. You're constantly using your brain. You're constantly discovering new and interesting technologies. And so the passion for me, it's not something that I've had to, force or focus on. It's just come so naturally because of the career change. And it's actually driven, a lot of what I've done in the last year. So both at work. So I've actually, I won an award for being passionate at work just because people can tell.
That's fantastic. That sounds a little bit like one of those encouragement stickers they give to little kids.
I know, it's like a gold star, right? Yeah. But that's what you want when you're a junior developer because you do come up against roadblocks and it is difficult and it can be easy to be disheartened and sort of, especially when you're surrounded by really talented senior developers who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah. And you think, how am I ever going to catch up? You know, how am I ever going to get to that point? Yeah. So you do need
but when they have 20 years head start on you.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the roadblocks and things like that because as I understand it, the tech industry, is it still predominantly male-based?
Yeah, so when I first started at Ansarada, I was the first female developer on our back-end team of about 15 to 20. Right. And so it is still predominantly male.
Is there any particular reason for that? I mean, there are some industries, I did engineering at uni, it was predominantly male, but is there any particular reason why it's male dominated? I'm assuming, like with people like yourself, it's changing as well.
Yeah. Well, I personally feel like the reason stems from the education level. Right. So as I was saying to you before the interview, when I was at high school, for example, when I was choosing my career path, I didn't even know that this existed. Like I didn't even know that coding was a thing. It was never sort of presented to me or pitched to me as an opportunity. I never had a female engineer or a male engineer for that matter, come to my school and do a little live coding session and, get us really excited about it. And I think if they had have done that, like particularly at a time when Facebook was really becoming a big thing, I think so many kids would have, would be more tempted or more likely to go down that path.
So if someone is, let's say, in their last years of high school or maybe they're in their first job or whatever, because it's never too late, obviously, how would they gear themselves towards having a career in coding? What sort of subjects should they pick? Or is it, you mentioned life experience is more important now. Yeah. But I'm imagining maybe there are certain subjects or certain hobbies or whatever it is they should pick to get to, let's say, where you are. So
yeah. Oh, look, I think it's more. So it's been a while since I've been at school. So I know that
didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I know that the government is trying to sort of introduce coding in schools, but I don't, as I understand, it's not really there yet. So what I would say is it's more about playing around with it in your spare time. There are so many online courses, free online courses, where you can start playing around, like building your own little portfolio website, build a little chat application. There's Code Academy, Code School. There's a whole range of them out there. Go along to a weekend Rails Girls workshop if you can, and get your first introduction. And your friends are going to think you're like a superhero because all of a sudden you'll be working in the command line or in the terminal on your computer and you'll be typing commands and making magic happen. So
I don't think the teenagers these days will even know what a command prompt is anymore. It's all Windows-based and Mac-based. What's a command prompt? I won't get you to answer that. I know, but it's just interesting how far technology has evolved.
Yeah, but I think the first step is for if you are sort of excited by the topic, then get online and start finding those free courses. And just see whether you do have a passion for it, like see whether you do have a desire to take it further.
It does sound like something you can probably access fairly easily on the internet, which would make sense.
Absolutely.
And dip your toe in it and see whether it's something that appeals to you.
Yeah.
Now, we are time limited here, so we'll begin the wrap up. Just in case, let's say someone wants to get in touch with you, just maybe they got questions about how to get into coding. What would be the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Twitter, absolutely, yes.
Right there, Twitter.
My Twitter handle is Simmons, and Twitter is amazing for the tech industry. As a journalist, obviously, I used Twitter for gathering information for news stories and for sharing stories that we had written. But as a developer now, there's a real tech community on Twitter. So it's a great way to meet people. I often ask coding questions on Twitter.
I saw that, and you can just sort of broadcast it out and you'll start getting responses from everywhere. That's a good thing about Twitter.
Yeah, because the tech community is so prominent on Twitter. You've always got someone to help you out if you're stuck.
And that's one thing you did mention, which I will just bring up. You mentioned that the developer community is super supportive.
It's incredible.
Particularly in Sydney. But you found them to be really, really helpful.
Yes, I really want to emphasize this. So I don't, as far as I know, there's no other industry like the tech industry. So everyone is so supportive. There's no egos. People want to share their knowledge. And people want to bring you up with them. Like they want to help you learn with them. They want to see you achieve. They want to see you improve and do really well. And that's sort of in stark contrast to the journalism industry, for example.
Other industries.
Yeah, and it's just incredible. There's tech meetups on almost every night of the week. You could find a tech meetup where you can go and you can have pizzas and beers and just amazing people to hang around with. You know, there's code camps.
Yeah.
So
you run a few things yourself as well. We should mention this. Like you help other people who want to sort of follow your journey as well.
Well, yeah, I recently held a study group at Ansarada for people learning JavaScript, and I've just started a teacher's assistant role with General Assembly for their JavaScript development course. And I'm looking to mentor at some upcoming hackathons like GovHack and Node Girls and things like that. So it's one of the best things about the career change and being a developer is the community.
They've
it's amazing.
Supported you and now you're giving back as well.
Exactly, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll wrap up. Have you seen the questions I asked?
I have not seen these questions.
Okay, you could have cheated. You could have seen the last 10 questions and you could have thought about your responses. But we'll ask these 10 questions. Whatever comes to mind is great, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So they're random questions as well. Right, so number one, what's your favorite word?
Word? Well, the first thing that came to mind was Swift.
I don't mind Taylor Swift. Number two, what is your least favorite word?
First thing that came to mind was ego.
Interesting. What turns you on?
Coding.
What turns you off?
I really get put off by dishonesty or a lack of transparency and openness and
That sounds like a big turn on. What sound or noise do you love?
The ocean.
I had that one before. What sound or noise do you hate?
The next door neighbour's lawnmower on a Saturday morning.
I was going to guess it would be the sound of rain. What is your favourite curse word?
Curse word?
Curse word.
My favourite swear word?
Yes.
I don't think I can say it.
Give us a clue. Cassie didn't say hers.
I can't say mine. I can't.
You can't
mine
say...
is the same as Cassie's.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
The C word. And I had to say it for her. Okay, got that one. I see why you two have bonded over there. What occupation, I mean, you're super passionate, but what occupation other than your own would you like to attempt?
An occupation.
If you could try any other occupation.
Wow. If only, I wish I could sing. If only I could sing.
Did you want to give it
No, I do not.
Okay. You take us with French better. Anyway, what occupation other than your own would you definitely not like to attempt?
Maybe something that that didn't allow for a work-life balance. Maybe law.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay. And last question, if God exists, what would you like to have him or her say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Wow. You did good.
That comes up quite a lot. So you did well, you did okay sort of thing. Well, Thank you so much for your time. And I will put Amy's details, so her Twitter handle below. And if you have any questions about coding or anything like that, then feel free to send her a tweet.
Definitely hit me up on Twitter. Yeah.
Sounds good. And thanks for watching. We'll speak to you later. Bye.
Thanks.